Hi again folks, here's another video about a modification that I've made on my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. This one is about the gear linkage, the gear change linkage, and here it is. This is the original gear change linkage, which is pretty good quality. It's made in Japan and it's your typical gear change linkage with the ball joints, which are basically sealed in with a little cap here and rubber on this side. Now, my experience of these over the years with Japanese bikes is that eventually the actual ball of the ball and socket, it begins to wear, and it's pretty tricky to get in there to lubricate those. This original Enfield gear change linkage has also got the reverse thread, which allows you to twist the middle and it will effectively extend or shorten the gear change linkage. It's mild steel, and I've got a thing about stainless fittings, which I'll do another video on in the future, and getting rid of rusty or potentially rusty fittings. So the other issue on this gear change linkage is that the distance from the edge there, where it bolts onto the gear change lever, to the actual pivot point is pretty far out. There's quite a big distance from that shoulder to there, and obviously the leverage is increased more because it's further away, plus it can't be lubricated. My experience is that they get slack and they begin to give a bit of play really, which leads to sloppy gear changes. So the modification that I've done, and I'll put links to what I've bought in the comments below. I went online to Hitchcock's motorcycles and I bought one of these in stainless. Now, you don't get the ends with it. They are called, the roses, I believe is the proper name for them. And one has a reverse thread, so that when you turn this in the middle, it will extend, as I said. So, here is the modification which I've done. So there is the Hitchcock's middle section in stainless. And either end are two roses. Now, as you can see, when I turn this, you can actually see the bearing or the bush surface there, and obviously at the other end. And basically these have a hole all the way through, and you put in them 6mm, I've used stainless bolt, put a nut on the other side with some Loctite, and you basically tighten it up. Now the difference is when you look at how close that is, the actual articulating bit is far closer to the lever itself. If you look at the comparison here, so that would be on there originally. So that shoulder, as it goes up to the edge of the lever there, so there is your, let's do the top one. So here, that would be like that. And that shoulder tightens up. And then you can see that the actual articulating bit is much further that way. These are much tighter into the lever, which means from a physics point of view, there's a lot less leverage. In other words, there's less strain on here, because that is part of the gear change linkage is so close to the actual lever itself. The further out it goes, the more leverage there is on them. Now, my theory is that that leads to a sloppier gear change eventually, because the knuckle, the articulating bit here, begins to wear. As you can see, it's sealed here. And okay, you could poke that rubber seal out of the way and hopefully get something in there. But the fact is, it is a lot further out when it's screwed in. So I prefer to have them very, very close to the lever. And these roses are available on eBay. I'll put a link where you buy them as a pair. One has a reverse thread, the other one doesn't. You can see it differs from the original, this section here, which is stainless, so it's not going to rust. And it's a hexagon shape, as opposed to having these on, which I think that's easier to adjust actually than putting a tool onto these faces here. Is not as easy as using that. So I would recommend doing that. I've noticed that my gear change, this one isn't particularly worn, it's only done 5,000 miles. There is a bit of play in it, you know, just a bit, you can feel it, because you can't lubricate it properly really. I dare say you could if you really persevered, but I believe the actual design is inferior to these. So the total cost of that, I think that was about 20 quid actually, but you'll see it on Hitchcock's, and a pair of the roses. So you get your reverse thread and your normal thread, and then of course you need your bolts. I put a washer in them as well. Now the benefit of these is because they've not got rubber on them, you can get lubricant in there. I think they're phosphor bronze, and they're a far better quality. But you can get lubricant into them. And I've noticed on other bikes, they last indefinitely, in actual fact. So if there is any sloppiness on your existing gear change linkage rod, and any sloppiness here, I don't mean the movement because that's normal, but if you've got any where you can push it to side, then I would recommend replacing it. Plus, of course, with it being with the Hitchcock's one being stainless, you're not going to get a manky old rusty thing when the galvanising wears off. I'll post some links below in the comments for anybody that's interested, and that would facilitate you being able to do that easy little job, and I think it will benefit the bike in the future. So have a look below and let me know what you think. See you later.